summer on the homestead. Got a wild garden going. And guess who I've got here?
Hey.
Hey. What's up, bud? Guess what, Jess?
What?
I thought of something really great.
All right, what is it?
It's that in this journey, right? In the journey of having a life you actually want to have.
Yeah.
I've seen how it's hard in one aspect, in that it's like you actually have to like confront resistance and fear and stuff.
Yeah.
But actually it ends up being easier.
Okay.
Have you noticed that too? Like how have you seen the journey of actually deciding you want to have the best life, taking steps towards that, realizing you got to, fix some stuff from your past?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that it's harder or easier, or is that actually an irrelevant question? What's your take on it?
Okay. Well, initially it was definitely harder because
Hey, let's go this way so the sun's in our face.
Initially
Oh, wow. We look like pro YouTubers now.
Initially it was harder because my whole life I've chosen the easier route. Unintentionally, a lot of the times. Thinking I want to do, what's good for people, what's good for me, what's good for the world. But because I had programming that was like, hey, let's do the easier thing. Let's do the thing that'll get me the dopamine now. A lot of times I did the easier thing instead of the thing that was better in the long term. Because nobody teaches you long-term thinking, okay? That's not taught in school. Your parents don't teach you that.
Well, we'll teach you this now, but I remember when we were kids, it wasn't really.
And so now, having been taught that and seeing the value of long-term thinking and building something real, creating a real impact, I see that the hard things in a moment are actually the easy things. And that makes it easy to do because I can see, I have the vision now, the long-term impact of doing the hard things in the short term. But that took a little bit to develop. And at the end of the day, it's all about standing in the eye of the storm. And that's in any given moment, choosing to do the thing that'll move everything forward the most, even if it doesn't feel good, even if you don't want to. And it'll get easier and easier to stand in the eye of the storm, and eventually it'll just be natural. It'll be like second nature, and it'll just be like, all day, every day, I stand in the eye of the storm and I'm a badass. Join me,
Yeah, like let's say in the journey, right? So for whoever's listening to this, maybe you just started realizing like, oh, hey, it actually makes sense to like do what's best for me and best for everyone. Let's say at the beginning you have like 80 things that are actually holding you back. And it's like tough. And those 80 different points will be challenged, and you'll just want to take the easy way out. But because you keep taking the easy way out, those 80 things keep you stuck. Like maybe it's like hitting the snooze button, right? When
that'll wreck your life.
or like when you're having a tough conversation with your spouse, you just shut down and you choose to watch Netflix instead, or you just don't actually go deep with them, right? So imagine there's like 80 different points in your life, give or take 20. But then as you go on this journey, you then start to correct these points. So now the next, on average, and you don't hit the snooze button. Or on average, when you do have that tough time with your spouse, you actually have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Or, maybe right now you're just depending on an employer for your money, and you don't actually have a business, a sustainable business, right? So there's all these different things. But over time, as you correct these points, it does become easier in a sense. Now, do you get as much dopamine right away, or does it feel super peaceful? It's like, actually, the real thing is deep down, you actually it is actually easier, because if you're just accumulating consequence, in the back of your mind, it's like when you got a to-do list of things you got to do and you don't do it. You're like, oh, it's easier to just sit down and eat a pastry and freaking watch a TV show
at 10 p.m. when your paper's due at midnight. Is it really easier to do it at that time than a week ahead of time?
Right, exactly. And think of how small you're playing in your life. If that's like your life, you're like, oh, I'm just going to wait till the deadline and then do the deadline. It's like, how about you just set deadlines for yourself instead of waiting for some professor or some other person outside of you to set the deadline? You set the deadline for yourself. And then instead of it being a deadline, it should be a lifeline, and your own lifeline. But the other thing is you can have lifelines around you too of the people that are also doing this. And that's why we created Self-Perfected.
Heck yeah.
Best Facebook group in the world, because there's people who are like this. And they're all in the journey, right? Of the 80 things you got to deal with, or maybe they got 3 things left. But the 3 things left that you got to deal with is now the big like society impacting stuff.
Yeah.
All right? Because if your life is good, great. Now you got bigger responsibility, right? It's like to whom much is given, much is expected. Whatever that phrase is, okay? So, cool. Well, any other wisdom, Jessica?
If your life is just go to work, go home and get entertained.
They probably aren't even watching this video.
Well, a lot of people have that life even if they are watching this video.
Well, true,
if they're honest.
Yeah.
So, if that's you, then just freaking reach out to Mitchell. He loves connecting with people. That's what he does all day long. I hear him upstairs on phone calls. Or he's out of the house in person meeting people. And that's it. That's all we do all day is connect with people because we want everyone's life to improve. Because if everyone else's life improves, our life improves.
Yeah. And
so
think
let's
of all the people that I know. So let's say you're like, oh, I really want to get this real estate deal done. Or I really want to, figure this thing out. Or I want to get my kids connected with this type of person. Guess what? I have a giant network. And I will open it up for people who are committed to the same principles that I'm committed to.
Let's do it.
All right. So, cool. Well, stay tuned. Check out my other videos. And we'll see you around.